You change a title because it seems harmless. One word feels off. Another feels outdated. You think you are helping the listing catch up. And for a moment, it feels responsible, like you are maintaining something. Then the views dip, or the listing goes quiet. And now you are wondering if that one small change did more than you expected. This video is about why that happens, without blaming you, and without turning it into a rulebook. What makes this confusing is how subtle it is. There is no warning, no message, no clear before and after. The listing just stops moving the way it used to. And because you changed something right before that, your brain fills in the gap. Maybe the title was wrong. Maybe you made it worse. Today, I want to slow this down and explain why changing a title can quietly reset things you did not realize were already working. For most sellers, changing a title feels like progress. You are not redesigning the product. You are not starting over. You are just adjusting words. It feels light, manageable, and because titles are so visible, it feels logical to work there. When something slows down, the title becomes the easiest place to intervene. It feels like you are steering the listing back on track instead of leaving it alone and hoping. Title changes almost never happen in a calm moment. They usually happen when a seller is worried. Views dipped, sales slowed, something feels off. So the change is made during a period of uncertainty. That timing matters. Because when you change a title during instability, it is easy to assume the change caused whatever happens next, even if the listing was already in a natural shift before you touched it. Titles get attention because they feel powerful. They sit at the top. They look like they control meaning. And sellers are taught, directly or indirectly, that titles are a lever. So when a listing underperforms, the instinct is to pull that lever. But watching something closely does not always mean it is the right place to act. Sometimes it is just the most visible part of a much larger system. Another reason titles get changed so often is that they feel reversible. You can always change them back. Nothing feels permanent. That creates a sense of safety. But reversibility in your dashboard does not mean reversibility in how the system reads the listing. Some changes leave a trace, not in a dramatic way, just enough to change how the listing is understood and where it fits. When a listing slows after a title change, it feels immediate, like cause and effect. But what you are seeing is often delayed. Listings move on momentum. They carry signals from earlier periods. When that momentum fades after an edit, it is easy to connect the two events, even if the slowdown was already forming quietly in the background. This makes title changes feel riskier than they actually are, and also more powerful than they really are. Once a seller believes the title caused harm, confidence drops. More changes follow. Another tweak, another experiment, and now it becomes impossible to tell what mattered. The listing feels fragile. Every word feels dangerous. This is how people end up stuck in constant editing loops, trying to fix a problem that is not actually about wording, but about how stability works over time. Here is the core idea. A title is not just text. It is an anchor. It helps the system understand what the listing is about and who it is for. Over time, that understanding is reinforced by how shoppers interact with the listing. When you change a title, you are not just swapping words. You are slightly shifting the meaning of the listing, even if the product itself stayed the same. Many sellers assume better wording is always better, but systems often prefer stability over precision. A title that is slightly imperfect but consistent can perform better than a perfectly optimized title that keeps changing. When a title stays the same, interactions accumulate around it. When it changes, that accumulation pauses. Not as a punishment, just as a reset of context. After a title change, the listing has to be understood again. Not from zero, but not from the same place either. The system observes how shoppers respond to the new phrasing. Do they click? Do they stay? Do they leave quickly? That observation takes time. During that period, exposure can soften. From the seller's side, it looks like the listing died. From the system's side, it is just waiting to see what the new title actually means in practice. Even small wording changes can shift who the listing reaches. A different adjective, a reordered phrase, a removed keyword. These are subtle to a seller, but they can signal a slightly different intent. That means different shoppers see the listing, and different shoppers behave differently. So performance changes, not because the listing is worse, but because the audience changed just enough to alter the signals being collected. The hardest part is that sellers expect instant clarity. Change the title, watch the result, decide if it worked. But the system does not work on that rhythm. It works on observation over time. When sellers judge too quickly, they read noise as information, and that leads to more changes, more resets, and less chance for any version of the title to settle long enough to be understood. When a title change seems to kill a listing, it is tempting to think something broke. But most of the time, nothing broke. The listing simply lost its stable frame for a while. It is like moving a signpost a few feet and waiting for traffic patterns to adjust. The road is still there. The destination did not change. It just takes time for the flow to reform around the new marker. The stabilizing insight is this: listings do better when they are allowed to be understood. Constant fixing interrupts that process. A calm approach does not mean never changing titles. It means respecting that changes have a cost, even when they are small. When you change less often, each version gets a fair chance to settle. And that reduces the feeling that your listings are fragile or unpredictable. When a title change is intentional and rare, it is easier to read the outcome. You are not watching every hour. You are not reacting to every dip. You are observing over a longer stretch. That makes the data quieter and more useful. The goal is not to freeze your listings forever. It is to stop interrupting them so often that they never get to show you what they can do. A settled title builds trust, not just for the system, but for you as a seller. You stop second-guessing every word. You stop feeling like one edit can ruin everything. Over time, that trust changes how you work. You spend less energy managing fear and more energy creating. And that shift matters more than any single wording choice ever could. Changing your title does not kill a listing by itself. What hurts is constant interruption before understanding has time to form. Stability lets meaning build. It lets patterns emerge. And it gives you clearer feedback when you do choose to change something. This is not about never editing. It is about letting your listings breathe. More explanations like this coming to the channel.